Buyers don't buy because they agree. They buy because they feel understood. Welcome back to the Sales Pulse podcast, where sales is not about scripts. It's about being fluent, connecting with your buyer. It's about human conversation. And you might make a sale if you do it well. So I'm Marla Koupal, your sales conversation architect. Today we are going to look at the subtle and costly mistake that most sellers make. They equate agreement and positive head nods with progress. Here's a spoiler alert. Agreement between the buyer and the seller may feel good, but it's the understanding that the seller has of the buyer that will move the sale. The topic for today comes out of a group sales coaching community that I run, and we've explored three ideas recently. One is that sellers do best when they aim for connection with the buyer, not control of the buyer. If you're using a script, that's a form of control. You're also looking for understanding between the buyer and the seller, not an agreement to buy. You're looking for understanding. Buyers don't buy if they don't feel they're not in control. And then choices for the buyer create safety for them. If you are someone with only one option and no choices, that safety is lost. Have you ever finished a sales conversation thinking they nodded the whole time? Why didn't they buy? Well, here's tip number one. Most sales training teaches you to stay in control, lead the witness, stack the benefits, corner the yes. No one likes to be cornered. And I can spot one of those sellers coming a mile away. So what's the problem here? When you push, buyers go into defense. You know that, you've seen it. Well, what are they protecting? They're not protecting their pocketbook. They're protecting their autonomy. They want the right to choose. And the more you take that away with your insistence and your control, the more resistant they will be. Remember, you are the seller. You're not the one choosing, so be sure to leave room for them to make choices. Try to reframe your approach. Get your thought process aligned with this type of thinking. You want to be thinking, my job is not to convince, my job is to connect. Say it out loud. It's not my job to convince. So how do you do that when you're with a buyer? Well, it might look like this. So walk me through, Mr. Buyer, how you're seeing this so far. What are you thinking? What's touching you? What questions do you have? So this will keep the buyer in the driver's seat. Now you're collaborating. You're not cornering them. Now, what is understanding versus agreement? Well, agreement is not progress. It's just agreement. The people want to be nice. They don't want to make you feel bad. So progress happens when the buyer feels accurately understood. That's where resistance comes if you don't do that. Here's some micro moves you might want to make. You might say, what I hear you saying is, so you're going to reflect back what the buyer's saying. And then you ask, did I get that right? Or am I close? You want them to participate. And, a lot of people don't know how to break into a conversation if you're pretty strong and comfortable in what you're doing. And then clarify. Well, what would make this feel like the right move for you? Those are good questions to ask at certain points in the conversation. When you do these two things, you are doing something that's very important in sales. You are validating the emotions and the choices and those surface behaviors that your buyer has. You're looking for their decision-making criteria. So you understand first, guide second. And here's tip number 3. What are you choosing in the architecture of your conversation? Are you a fast speaker, but they seem to be rather methodical and slow? When they're choosing, be sure to match your pace with them. Give them small, continuous choices. Why do we have menus at restaurants? So we can have options. So you say to someone, well, there's 3 angles we could support next. Which one would you like to tackle first? If you're really into something that has 2 or 3 options, you don't know which one of those is going to be the incentive for them to really consider this purchase. So get to all of them, but get to the most important one first. You also might say something like, well, do you have 5 minutes right now for a deeper conversation here on what we could get done, or should we follow up? Each time that your buyer gets to give you a tiny yes, that's going to preserve their autonomy. That's what they're concerned about, preserving their autonomy. They want to know that they were powerful in making their choice and that they were in control. And this is how you do it. That will build momentum. Here's a quick, on-the-spot upgrade you can use right away today. Never ask, do you understand? It lands as a demeaning type of a question. But you do want to ask things like, help me understand how this appears to you, how this strikes you, how this grabs you, whatever the conversation you're having. Tip number 2, don't ask, are you ready to sign up? That invites a reflexive no. So maybe ask, what would need to happen for this to feel like a yes? Now the thought's in their court. Let them run with it. And when they hesitate, for heaven's sakes, don't pitch harder. Explore deeper. Would you share with me what's giving you pause? All of these things will keep your conversation alive. It will show respect to the buyer, and it will really allow the buyer to feel like they're leading the conversation. In your next 3 conversations, I want you to ask one more question before you offer any suggestion. And use the phrase, what I hear you saying is, at least once per conversation. And then build at least one, if not more, moments of choice where the buyer's agreeing to continue the conversation with them. If today helped, I want you to share this with a teammate, a fellow salesperson, or just review it for your own purposes. If you know anyone who's chasing agreements and they're not looking for understanding from the buyer, please refer them to this podcast. Sales is not about having safe scripts. Sales is about understanding the buyer. I'm Marla Koupal, and this is the Sales Pulse podcast. See you next time.